Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. This is the webinar for the Energy Science program at Utrecht University. We give you the most warm welcome. Here with me, my name is Jesus Rosales Carreon. I'm assistant professor at Utrecht University and also the program leader of the Master Energy Science. Here with me today is Professor Wilfried van Saar.
Hi.
And also one of our students, Abed.
Oh.
On the chat, we have David and Dan. On the technicalities, on the technical support, we have Daphne and Katharina. And if you have any issue, you can indicate it. Any problem with the connection, or you are not hearing us properly, or you cannot look at us. You can indicate it in the web chat, in the chat box that you have. The crew for today, as I was telling you, is Dan Bosma and David Petersen. They are current students, and they will be talking to you through the chat box. Abed Ayad, once again, Professor Wilfried van Saar, and I'm here, Jesus Rosales. If you have any question that I'm pretty sure you have a lot, there is a chat box in your screen. Please type any question, any concern, any doubt at any moment of the presentation, and let us know. We will answer as soon as we read it. Please let us know. It's really important that we hear your opinions, because we are here for you. And in the meantime, you will be talking and discussing any topic, as I said, with Dan and David. At the end of the presentation of this webinar, we will have a Q&A session. We will be discussing the topics that you want us to discuss. We will give an answer to your questions. And well, that is pretty much the setting of today. And without more, I will start to introducing you to the topic of today. Why energy science? You are looking at this webinar because you're interested in a Master of Energy Science. And well, there are several challenges that we have. Most of you have heard of climate change, and some of us, we call it the defining issue of our time. And for that, we need to decarbonize the energy supply. But equally important is securing long-term energy supply. All of us, we like to have warm showers, or we like to cook our meals, we like to travel from A to B, we like to go from one side to the other. And for that, we require energy. Then we need to secure that energy supply, but to do that, we want to go from non-renewable to renewable sources of energy. And also, we also want to have access to clean and efficient energy, not only for you that you are watching the webinar, or for us that we are here, but for everyone in the world, right? We want to make available energy, renewable energy for all persons in the world, and this will help us to achieve the sustainable development we need in this world. However, this transition, or these challenges that we were just discussing, they require a transition, right? It will not happen from one day to the other. It requires a transition. Nevertheless, no one knows, we don't know how exactly it looks like. We know at least we need a transition, but no one knows which are the pathways that we need to follow. And this is what makes this challenge interesting, because we are free to design, and we are invited to design new strategies and to test them to achieve the sustainable development that we want. Nevertheless, we know that the perfect technology does not exist. There is not a silver bullet, as they call it, that will help us to save the challenges that we just mentioned. On the contrary, we also know that professionals for different fields are needed. This is an interdisciplinary challenge, and we need professionals who develop and implement energy and climate solutions to help us to solve this challenge. And that is why you are watching this webinar, because you are the professionals, the future professionals, who help us to develop these strategies to address the challenges that we have mentioned. What are the characteristics of our master program, and what kind of students these are targeted? Well, first of all, the aim of the Master Program in Energy Science at Utrecht University is to educate the students who want to contribute to the transition towards sustainable energy. So if in your ideas, in your plans, in your future plans is to contribute to this transition, I think you are in the right webinar. And more important, I think this is the right master for you. The target group, which kind of students normally we are looking at, are students with a background in science or engineering. And because we train the future energy system specialists in doing applied research, consultancy work, and policy advice. As you see, we train a broad spectrum of specialists. You will analyze energy systems, but you can develop policies around it, or you can do also research. Because, as we mentioned, all of these parts are necessary to implement and to tackle the challenge we have. The master program in energy science has a duration of 2 years. The current year, 2019, we welcomed 29 students from all over the world. The application for the master program for the coming year started already in September. If you are watching this webinar outside the Netherlands, the deadline is in April the 1st. If you are watching this webinar and you're a Dutch student, the deadline for application is on June the 1st. You will get the degree on the Master of Science. The current label is on Science and Innovation, although from 2020 onwards, you will get the label on Energy Science. So when we are welcome you in the next year, you will get to have the Master of Science in Energy Science. The characteristics of the program is a 2-year international program. There is a strong interdisciplinary approach, as we have been discussing. All fields and all points of view are needed. We focus on research methodology. That means that we have a structured program, and we will help you to structure your thoughts and to give a concrete answer to the problems that we are facing. And our course our courses are problem-oriented, and they will train you not only in theoretical aspects, but also they will provide you with practical skills that you will apply in your future career. The program content, of course, everything is around energy, and you will have knowledge, you will acquire knowledge regarding to science and technologies that support energy transition. You will see also policies that can enhance the transition needed in this energy challenge, but also you will discuss economy and business skills to help you implement the different technologies and policies around the energy challenge. There are 2 tracks in the Energy Science Master Program in Utrecht University. The first track is Systems Analysis, which will train you to be a generalist in energy science. And the second track is the track in Natural Science, which focus on energy science with a strong connection to natural science. First, I will discuss Systems Analysis track, how your first year of studies would look like. In period 1, 2, and 3, you have compulsory courses. You can see that in period 1, you have Energy in the Context of Sustainability. This course is an introduction to the study of sustainability and energy, and you will go in depth in the challenges that we have just discussed. In parallel, you will be studying energy and conversion technologies, because that's what we want, right? You want to understand how we can transform energy. In period 2, you will have advanced energy analysis and the second aspect of energy and conversion technologies. In the third period, you will deal with energy systems modeling, because that's what you will be studying during your master program, energy systems. But then modeling is a tool that will help us to better understand and to provide better solutions. And in this third period, you can start to have electives, because of course, each one of you is different. You have different interests, and you can tailor-make your studies and your interests with some electives. In the fourth period, you will apply your knowledge the knowledge that you have acquired in the first 3 periods in a consultancy project. There, you will be working with companies who will provide you with a real problem they have, and you will provide a solution in a 10-week course. You will work in teams, and the feedback we have had in the last years is that students enjoy putting into practice all the knowledge they have acquired. In the second year of your master program, when you are doing the systems analysis track, you have, as a compulsory course, your master thesis. For the rest, you can tailor-make your program as you want. You can follow electives. For example, we offer energy in the built environment. But also, if you would like, you can do an internship in the companies. You could also have as an elective to write a scientific article. Then you have more freedom to design your own career. So that is how the track looks in the second year. As I mentioned, we also have a track in natural science, and for this, Professor Fansar will explain us.
Thank you, you all listeners. If you look at the natural science track year 1 overview, you'll see that period 1 and 2 are the same as with the systems analysis track. Also, period 3, half of that is the same. But then we start to split up. In period 3 and 4, you see 2 electives here, which basically are focusing on chemistry and physics of the energy field in a wider sense. Period 4 is for me very special because that's my course and I'm a PD specialist, so I like to tell everyone everything about the physics aspects of solar energy. Then you see also a natural science research starting there. You will see that better in the second year, where you have a master's thesis, which is obligatory, and also a natural science research, which is similar, you might say, as a master thesis, but there you go very deep. You are able to do, for example, internships at solar cell companies or research institutes, for example, or chemistry departments that work on nanocrystals. There must be a link with energy, but there are lots of things in the natural science world to solve in this respect. There's also an optional course there, as you can see. If I go one slide back, I'd like to refer also to the 2 electives that are there. To qualify for the natural science track, you need to select 2 electives from a sort of predefined list of about 10 or so that are focusing on chemistry and physics of energy, basically. So the next slide is more on what you should expect from us. Well, we offer highly challenging program, high quality program, small scale classes. We have 29 now in this year, but if we have larger numbers, then we can certainly split up tutorials, for example. There's an international learning environment, not only international students, but also international staff, which is also very well motivated. We have, as you could expect, a modern teaching facility. We have lots of computers, powerful computers, classroom facilities there for you to study. As Jesus also mentioned, there's quite a bit of freedom and flexibility to shape the program to suit your interests. You may have, based on your bachelor background or whatever interest, you can shape that really to your needs. That means that we also train different kind of people, right? We need every kind of person to follow, to make energy transition a success, from policymakers to natural scientists. We, through the people that we have in our department, which is about, well, let me say 30 staff or so, we have quite a bit of network that allows students to go abroad for any thesis or internship work. And we provide very good quality supervision and support. As I said, there's a clear link between teaching and research. We try to embed new research results in our teaching as quickly as possible. We have a group which is very well experienced in energy and sustainability issues within the Copernicus Institute of Sustainable Development. And we know what interdisciplinary work is because we do it also in research. So we're also able to teach that to you. We're very happy that we have an active study association, NRG. I mean, you probably recognize the origin of the acronym, which is now 250 alumni at the moment. So what do we expect from you? Well, you have a bachelor. We expect to that you show independence and autonomy. You take responsibility of your own program, commitment, which is attendance to lectures, but also active participation throughout those lectures. You need to study a lot. There's about 8 hours per course of contact per week. So this means you have 2 courses in parallel, so 16 hours of contact hours, and the rest is self-study. You should read a fair bit of English material, highly motivated, engaged to the energy transition, a wide-ranging interests, clearly, mutual commitment, which is clear in cooperation work, group work, through, for example, a consultancy project. The adequate command of English is obvious, because the whole master is in English. And obviously also adequate intellectual skills, as stated in the admission requirements. So just a few examples of recent thesis topics to show. There we have many, but this is a nice example of the breadth of what we do here. The top one is very important for the Netherlands situation, for example, because we are phasing out gas, so for heating, which is different in different countries. But for the Netherlands, it's a specific. We have this gas field, and we're going to shut it down in the next 10, 20 years. So what to do with our heat supply in the country? It is a very detailed study, but it can also be transferred to other countries. The next topic is tariff design for power supply service in isolated mini-grids. So this is more like the economic parts of the energy transition that you will see. We do also technology assessment of future energy conversion technologies that are not proven yet, for example, so you can do work there. We have energy efficiency issues like in the steel industry, how to electrify the whole process there. We do quite a bit of work on the bioeconomy, and this particular example is on the palm oil-based biodiesel consumption globally and how we can perhaps change that optimally. A case study, we also look downwards, say, or towards ourselves. In this particular case for the Utrecht University, that we're trying to set up a carbon neutral energy system in the coming years via some optimization of energy systems. And we have very good links also to the city itself. And from those examples, you are able to draw conclusions for other cities as well. Well, and then in my field of expertise, PV is going to grow enormously. This will have an effect on the local grid lines or high voltage lines, perhaps. So what is the potential, or what are the barriers to overcome? And this is a very nice thesis together with one of the transmission system operators.
That's it, correct. We remind you to keep in touch with us, write your questions, send us all your comments, any concern you have. And just to tell you, the topics that Professor Van Saar just mentioned are current topics, are topics that the students are tackling nowadays. And those are topics that perhaps you could be working on in a couple of years when you are doing your master thesis with us. Small break before we continue, because Bessel has an interesting question. He asked, Bessel would like to know in how far there are possibilities to go abroad during the master program. Wilfred, would you want to?
Yes, I try to mention this a little bit. We have, with our staff, we have lots of international network connections. So you can come to us, and if you have a certain topic that you would like to work on and abroad, then we can try to help you out and find the proper supervisor abroad. But also, we also expect it from you. You can also have a look around. Opportunities, you wish to go to Switzerland, for example, to ETH. I'm just naming a very high-level institute. People are successful in contacting supervisors there that we don't know even, and they get an internship over there. And then, of course, we support in supervision locally, and the supervision at the other institute is also done very well. So it's a question of, how do you say, balancing your needs with our possibilities for you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, guys. You are really active, and we really like that. Now, Noelia has a question. Noelia asks us if you guys or students can apply freely to the internship in the second year, or if students need a minimum score. You can. There are some requirements for every course that you will take. There are some admission requirements. In the case of the internship, you need to have passed advanced energy analysis and at least 3 of the courses that are offered in period 1 to 4. It's not about the grade, but you need to have passed at least. And then the advanced energy analysis, because it's a course that gives you the core of the knowledge that you need to apply. if you don't have that knowledge, well, it's perhaps you cannot perform as your qualities require in the internship. So for every course that you will have with us, you will receive a course guide, and you have a course manual program where you can see the requisites for each one of the courses. But in the case of the internship, you need to pass, or advanced analysis needs to be approved, and at least 3 of the other courses that you are taking from period 1 and 4. Thank you, Noelia, for your question. Abed, there is a question for you, and the question is, how do the current students experience the schedule with compulsory courses? That is one question. Let's go.
Yeah, so I guess what I understood from this question is the student wants to know, are they well coordinated like courses? And I think they are. You find if you come to Utrecht University that the taught courses, so other than like the thesis and the research project and stuff, they're on a block schedule. So you can't go wrong. And then also it's important to mention that Jesus and Wilfred and the other people who are organizing the energy science MSc have an idea of what your course load is, so they know what the compulsory courses are in any given period. And there's from at least, maybe I don't want to speak out of turn, but from what I can see is that there's an effort to always balance the course load. So this is not an easy MSc program. You will work really hard, but there are people watching over you, making sure that you're not working too hard, that it's going to be impossible.
Yes, Wilfred, do you want to add something?
No, actually, the next, actually very nice. This question was answered now by Abed, and it's very interesting because the next slide actually is the start of Abed's presentation.
Yes,
is that right?
Yes.
Yes. So
okay.
Tell us.
Okay, so I'm here to tell you a little bit about myself.
Yes.
I am proof that no student is too unusual to come to Utrecht to do an MSc in energy science. I'm a bit older than most students. I'm from the Middle East. I'm Palestinian Jordanian, but I was born in Kuwait. I did my university degree in England, lived in the US for a while. I had my appendix taken out in Guangzhou, China, which at the time was a bus ride north from Hong Kong. And I studied physics at university. So, if I can come here and pass through the first year of the MSc in energy science, then you can too. The reason I came here is that I really care about renewable energy, and I care about the challenge of climate change. That was my primary motivation. I settled on Utrecht University and the Copernicus Institute because it has like a really fantastic global reputation. On top of that, the program here is really interdisciplinary, and I had beyond the fact that I studied physics at university, I had a lot of different life experiences, and I wanted to put those to use, and this is a great place to do that. So if you have a science background, yeah, this is a wonderful MSc for you, but even if your background is not in something like physics, you can always find a way in to this program. And there's a good mix of structure and freedom, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in my second slide. So my MSc experience, I'm still fine-tuning what my thesis topic is going to be, and I'm actually Wilfred, Professor Van Sark is responsible for that, together with one of his PhD students, Sarah, who I work with very closely, and we're kind of working on some floating photovoltaic things. I can't tell you too many details right now. And I'm also submitted a proposal which was well received by a faculty member to do my own student-led course or student-designed course. That's an option for you, and that was one of the really big reasons that I like this MSc, because you can kind of chart your own path within limits. And I will talk further about this in the Q&A, but I want to tell you what I really like about living in Utrecht and what I like about living in the Netherlands. Utrechters are really friendly people. There's people here from all over the world. Everybody fits in. The cycling infrastructure is something I only could have imagined before living here, but you can get on a bike. Like over the summer, I would get on a bike and be like, I'm going to go to the sea. So I would do like a 90-kilometer trek to The Hague. It was awesome. The town itself is really beautiful. It's like a Wes Anderson film set. And I would say also one of the things I really appreciate about the Copernicus Institute, Utrecht University, and I think the Netherlands in general, is that, and this might be a change for some people coming from different countries, it was for me, hierarchies here are very flat. They exist, but like everybody after a certain time, everybody's like on a first name basis. You can always point out mistakes that someone senior to you has made. It's not a big deal. So I really appreciate that. The things, and I have to be honest as well, like we all want you to consider seriously coming to Utrecht, and perhaps you will come here, but there are some, drawbacks. Like you are going to have to forget about making cash payments. It's PIN card only. You will miss the sun for a couple of months. It's a bit weird because I'm obsessed with photovoltaics, but you will not see the sun for a short time. You can adapt with that by taking vitamin D pills or by buying a blue light. Shops closed at forget about doing any shopping on a Sunday or after about 8 p.m. on most days. There is a housing shortage in Utrecht. You have to plan in advance if you want to come here. So I hope that you apply in time and that you also start planning, because you will find a house to live in. It's going to take some time. And food is very expensive in this part of the world. So if you're used to living in a part of the world where there's always a cheap, fast option, forget about it. You learn to make sandwiches. And those were my 2 slides, and I will take all your questions in the Q&A.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Abed. Thank you all for your incoming questions, guys. We like the interaction. And Jess has a question: what are the admission requirements for students from Utrecht University? Exactly, those are the slides that are coming. So Jess, but also Peter, stay tuned, and Emma, Anke, please stay tuned, because we are going to answer your questions in the coming slides. The admission requirements, of course, you already saw how the program looks like. We talk about what we expect from you, what you can expect from us, and you had the experience from Abed. But well, yes, you need an university bachelor's degree in a natural, technical, or environmental science. HBO bachelors can also apply. Experience shows that for a HBO bachelor, normally a pre-master is required. And this master is taught in English, so we need a good command of English. You can look for more detailed requirements in the website that you can see in the screen, but also in the main site of the website of the Energy Science Master Program. You will see with detail the requirements, but those 3 are the most important. What can I tell you about those requirements? A background, once again, in either the life, natural, or sciences is important. You have students who have had a bachelor in the social sciences, but it's important that you have an inclination for natural science, that you're curious about how technology works. I think that is a requisite. A strong level of academic knowledge in mathematics and natural science is desired because, well, if you want to understand energy conversion technologies and advanced energy analysis, physics, mathematics play a role. The same with thermodynamics. You need to have a good command of thermodynamics. For example, properties of substances, the ideal gas equation state. And once again, more detailed requirements and actually some examples of the problems that you are expected to solve in thermodynamics can be found in our website. Just take a look at them, because then you will have a better idea of what we expect you to know before starting the master program. Needless to say, knowledge of energy analysis. Your master is in energy science, so we expect you to be familiar with the terms of energy, with conversion units, how to approach a systemic analysis in the energy field. The master, as you remember, is a strong focus on methodology and research. So we need you to have research skills. Most of you have done already a bachelor thesis or some courses in your bachelor. But we require you to have research skills and, well, motivation and talent, as shown by your CV and by your motivation letter, is also paramount. Yes, I hope that I answered your question. If not, please continue the conversation. How you would apply? Well, it's quite straightforward. You submit an enrollment request, which is basically your application file. After the application file is examined by the admission committee, you will receive a letter of acceptance, welcome you to Utrecht University and to the Energy Science Master Program. And then you need to finalize your enrollment with some administrative steps. and then you will be with us. You will be taking lessons with Professor Van Sark and sharing the library with Abed. I think it's quite straightforward. Please apply through the website that appears on your screen. And remember, our program starts in September. If you are outside the Netherlands, the deadline for applying is on April the 1st. If you are watching this webinar in the Netherlands and you're a student in the Netherlands, the deadline for application is June the 1st. And I would like to answer also, Peter has a question. He's the co-founder of a company in solar energy. Can this be combined with an internship or case study? Well, I think Professor Van Sark is better suited for that because it's your field of
yeah, well, it's already interesting that you have co-founded a company in solar energy or whatever energy form. That's always good. You can always combine it with an internship or a thesis even, but we have requirements in terms of level of the content of that thesis or internship. So that's the essence. It can be done everywhere, basically, even with municipalities or government or whatever, or other companies. But the level of academic depth is really of importance here. So I hope this answers that question. Also, within the program, we didn't really talk about it. There is a possibility to get an entrepreneurial certificate or something, right?
Yes, exactly.
So
yes,
even if you have already co-founded a company, we could also offer courses on entrepreneurship that you can follow and combined with a thesis topic at a company or with a company that qualifies you for the certificate. That's may also be interesting for you in this case.
Exactly. Also, we can tell you a little bit more. I want to comment on the question about studying abroad. As Professor Van Sark mentioned, yes, it's possible, but again, you need to plan. You need to plan where you want to go, and we understand that going abroad is an experience in itself, especially if you live in the Netherlands, right? If you are coming from abroad, well, being in the Netherlands will be your experience abroad. But we need to know why and where you want to go, right? We understand that you go to study. Of course, you go to experience the country and the culture where you will be. That is understandable. But the program or the courses that you want to take in other university need to be of the quality and need to be aligned to your master program. Otherwise, well, as much as we want you to experience that part, might not be possible. So it's important that the studies that you want to do abroad are of quality and are aligned with your master studies. And for that, you will have a conversation with Professor Van Sark if you are doing the natural science track, or with me, with Jesus Rosales, if you are doing the systems analysis track.
That's right.
Yes.
So, and we have analyzed the landscape of people that enroll in our master, and they all come. Well, it's a nice, very nice view of the world, and with density plots. So you see, all the students are all across all the globe, except from Antarctica, of course. Of course, the highest density. Of course, the highest density is actually in Europe. Within Europe, this may also have to do with the fees that apply for European potential students. But we have a very broad landscape here. Going abroad to do an internship or thesis also applies to these students. Actually, some of these students, I know one example at least from Costa Rica, who went to do an internship in Ecuador. So that's sort of around the corner of Costa Rica. Not really, of course, but it helps a lot that his language skills are much better in Costa Rica or in Ecuador. So that's always possible. Or a person from Greece actually went back to Athens to do some master thesis work in Athens while we were studying in the Netherlands. So that qualified because the level complies to our requirements. So what is your background? Well, it's hard to read perhaps, but this slide shows you that we have quite a bit of variety in background of students. And this also shows what Jesus mentioned. In general, you have a natural science background or science background or innovation science background, or even social science background. Yes. If you have an interest in the mathematics and chemistry and physics, maybe even through high school, I can imagine at the end of high school you got fed up with physics, so you went to do social science, but now you want to go back. We have examples of that. Yes. So it's really a personal check of your files on which we decide for you to enroll or not. So the next slide is where you then end up. Well, it's and this is just a selection. There's an impressive amount of people. We have 200 plus alumni. We try to follow them all through our LinkedIn, throughout LinkedIn. But you see, Shell is a very important employer. TNO is a research institute in the Netherlands. You have Sky Energy, for example, that's making kerosene based on biofuels. Tata is a large one. Natuur en Milieu is a NGO in the Netherlands, for example. Of course, you recognize Tesla. Eneco, just bought up by Mitsubishi 2 days ago. So there's lots of possibilities. And many of those people actually that end up here in such companies do that because they did an internship there. So that's also very important to do that in a very good way.
Yes.
So last slide, I think.
Jesus, yes, exactly. If you have more questions, or perhaps you are still thinking about all the information we are giving you here, please get in touch with us, of course, to the chat box that you have. But if you're in the Netherlands, or if you are making a trip through Europe and you are planning to be in Utrecht, you can arrange a class or a visit through the association NRE, which Abed is also part of the association. You arrange those visits, right?
Yeah, we can take care of that. I mean, it'll be a new board in 2 months, but yeah.
You send an email, and you can experience in firsthand what the student life is, lifestyle is in Utrecht. Please go to our websites, the ones you have on the screen, where you have more information, more detailed information, and otherwise contact. Send an email to science.energy.energy@uu.nl. So for more questions, perhaps you want to listen to our voice and to have another conversation, you can also call the International Office Desk or visit their website. Well, there are plenty of opportunities. What we like through this webinar in our courses is interaction. It's not a one-way communication. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your doubts are, because we are convinced that, we want to welcome you next year in Utrecht University in the Energy Science Master Program. And now, if you have questions, we can go to some of the questions you have asked. For example, Emma has just asked, how does the program provide real-life work experience? Well, perhaps Abed, real-life work experience. What have you heard from other colleagues?
Yeah. So for example, some of the colleagues, as part of the period 4 internship that they take, that's in towards the end of your first year. Some of my colleagues went down to the south of the country, where they worked on making a convent more energy neutral. I think that was one of the projects last year. And then there was also a group of people who were seconded to some consultancy offices in more traditional kind of like office roles, where they worked for companies like a Dutch engineering consultancy like Arcadis. I have a colleague who's working there now, and he's basically in the built environment section of you may or may not have heard of Arcadis, but it's one of the biggest engineering consultancies in the world, and it's based not very far from Utrecht. So that's another like big plus. That's maybe something we should mention. Like Utrecht, if you don't come from the Netherlands, you might not realize that Utrecht is quite central in the Netherlands, and it's plugged into this like business environment. So like the Arcadis head office, which is a company that has maybe 20-something thousand employees around the world, is a half hour away by train from the campus where you'll be taking most of your classes. And there's also, I mean, there were other people who did more kind of like small scale work experience. Like they worked, I think, extracting the heat, made it from a pizza oven at a pizza restaurant.
Yes, they make use of the heat. Yes.
Also happens to be a very good pizza restaurant, and they were working on harvesting the heat from their oven and then recycling that for like ambient heating in the rooms. And so that was just a few examples that I can think of right now.
Additionally, all your teachers, they have either experience in the industry, they have worked in the industry, or they have through the years collected or built a strong network in industry. So the links are obvious. Through the lectures, you will have guest lecturers that they are in the daily basis working with industry or in business development or in policy making. So the exposure that you will have on how to connect theory and practice will be, without exaggerating, every day in your lectures. And of course, as Abed mentioned, there's the consultancy project, but also your internship is done at a company, and your thesis, your master thesis project can be done also at a company. So, well, you will see the relationship almost in the first week that you are here with us. Another question from Anke is, well, it's a typical question. Is what is the main difference between the system analysis track and the natural science track?
Well, if I do to give a very short answer, by now you know what a T-shaped professional will be. That's someone who knows a lot about one thing and a little bit about many things. And that's what I would say a system analysis person would be. So he has an overview and has one leg basically in one discipline perhaps. The natural science track will give you also this T-shaped professional with a little bit shorter arms, but a much deeper foot in the ground, you might say. So yes, it can be, and you need both, in my view. And even there's another topic, another letter that comes into mind now is the P-shaped professional.
Yes,
that's the one who's building bridges between two disciplines, shaking hands with T-shaped professionals.
Yes.
So you need all kinds of people, the ones that go deep, either done in the bachelor or in the master here, and the ones that have an overview that understand technology for sure, and that can connect people to come to really a transdisciplinary solution of whatever problem you have in the energy field.
Thank you. Also, Tobias asked, how important are the recommendation letters in the application form when you fill in? Well, all the documentation that you send us is important, and we consider it is relevant to assess. The recommendation letter is important because then we know you, or when we get to know you through other persons. Of course, the more detailed the application, the recommendation letter, the better, because it's not the same telling, well, I know this student and is a well-rounded student, which is fine, we appreciate that, and it will be desirable to tell, well, I know this student has a deep knowledge in thermodynamics or has experienced a good work in the lab. Well, that tells a bit more about your background, which is exactly what we want to do. We want to know you. We want to know who is behind the application form. So they are important, and the more elaborated, the more detailed, and the more concrete, the better in comparison to a general and a standard recommendation letter. Oliver also asked us, where can we see what thermodynamics knowledge is important? You have the website in your slides, and as I mentioned, you have the specific topics that we expect you to know, and also you have a link where you can see the problems that we expect you to solve before entering the master. Please go into that link and make the exercise and see if you need some improvement areas in your knowledge in thermodynamics in this particular case.
May I add here that if you want to do a proper analysis for coal-fired power plant, for example, or gas turbine power plant, you need knowledge of thermodynamics to calculate efficiency, for example, and also to find improvements of efficiency possibilities there. So a solid thermodynamical cycle knowledge is needed for that. That will certainly help. But Abed,
yeah, before we round up, I just have a little hack that I kind of figured out that I wish someone had told me. So if you come to the energy science program, go on Reddit and then find the thermodynamics subreddit. Within that, find the questions that are listed with Chengel and Bowles in the textbook, and that's the textbook that they use to teach Energy Conversion Technologies 1, which is taught in your period. That's the backbone. Well, that's part of the backbone, I would say, of the rest of the MSc, and it goes over things like gas and vapor cycles, and then that might have been part of the course that many people found the most strange. But if you have a degree in like mechanical or chemical engineering, you've probably already done this a lot. But for me, yeah, so I had to kind of, like, even with a physics background, you have a lot of learning to do in terms of thermodynamics, because it's engineering thermodynamics, and it's a very specific thing about heat cycles. So learn about those.
Well, I guess it's clear. Thermodynamics is the backbone, so please learn it. And without more saying, I want to thank you, your attention, all your questions and interaction. Thank you very much. I want to thank in the technical part, Daphne and Katharina. You were chatting with Dan and David. Thank you to them. And of course, thank you to Professor Van Sark and to Abed for being with us. We expect to see you, all of you, next year in Utrecht, studying our Energy Science Master Program. Thank you very much.